Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church, our Sunday service online. I'm Reverend Dr. Marian Stewart. It is my pleasure to serve this congregation as senior minister. This morning we celebrate our annual Remembrance Service. This morning our Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care, Isabel Call, will be speaking, and throughout the service you will be seeing images taken from around the church, but especially our memorial garden. On this and every day, we acknowledge that we are on land that Native Americans inhabited for thousands of years before white people came. In central and southern Ohio, the Adena and Hopewell peoples built mounds, traversed, and enjoyed life as early as 3000 BCE. I now invite you to center yourselves this morning as we listen to Nathan Hem, our pianist, play our prelude by Bella Bartok.
Thank you, Nathan. Good morning and happy November. My name is Kelly McNeil and I am the Director of Congregational Life here at First UU. Welcome. I'm currently sitting here watching my cat run across the windows, chasing the leaves that are flying past. And I don't know what you're watching out your front window right now, but we are so glad that you are with us this windy morning. If you're visiting with us, thank you for checking us out. Please let us know that you are here by filling out the visitors form on our website. You can find a link to that in the chat box. I have a few announcements this morning. If you are interested in learning more about us or are ready to join First UU, you have until noon today to register for our Pathways to Membership class. The class is today from 1 to 4. You will need to register to get the Zoom information, and you can find the link to register in the chat box. To learn more about our programs for children and youth, please email our Director of Religious Exploration, Amber Scott. If you would like to know more about these announcements or anything else First UU, please send me an email. And this morning is one of my personal favorites. It gives us an opportunity to pause, to take a few moments out of our busy schedules and remember those who mean so much to us. Whether you have a loved one in the picture slideshow today or not, I invite you to use this hour as a time to reflect on those you have lost, holding them close to your heart and remembering all the wonderful memories that you shared.
Thank you, Kelly, for the warm welcome. I invite you now, if you have a candle or a chalice at home, to get it so that we can light our chalice together. Our chalice lighting words this morning are from Dag Hammarskjöld, a Swedish statesman and Secretary of the United Nations. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, and to give back. Our chalice is lit. I now invite you to sing together, Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stars of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I hope some of you are doing the hand motions to that last hymn at home. Good morning. I'm Amber Scott, your Director of Religious Exploration. Our Sunday school class for 3 to 7-year-olds, Peace Pals, youth group, and our Navigators Scouting Troop all meet online later today. Please check the chat box or email me for more information. Today's story is called Choo Choo Manthu's Jar of Toffees, written by Aditi Rao, illustrated by Krishna Bala Shenoy, and published on Storyweaver. Choo Choo Manthu, look! Choo Choo Manthu turns to where Preet is pointing. She quickly eats up the chips on his plate. He falls for this trick every time. Choo Choo is the nickname Preet has given him. Manthu means big uncle in Konkani. Choo Choo Manthu is the kindest person in Preet's world. Her big uncle is also her best friend. One day, Preet sees Choo Choo Manthu scoop handfuls of toffees from a jar and drop them from his bedroom window. She watches in amazement as he ducks under the windowsill, chuckling to himself. Cries of delight float up from the street. At the end of the lane is a school. When the lunch bell rings, Choo Choo Manthu secretly drops toffees down to the school children as they pass under his window. After lunch, Choo Choo Manthu walks back to his office. When he passes the children playing, he doesn't look at them. So the children never guess that the hand that sends them toffees every day belongs to this thin, solemn man dressed in white. But one day, Choo Choo Manthu has a dreadful pain in his stomach. As he's taken to the hospital, he presses Preet's hand one last time. Now, Preet sits in Choo-Choo Manthu's empty room. His yoga mat is on the floor. She remembers that long ago day when she had walked in and found a pair of long pajama-clad legs wiggling in the air. "Help!" Preet had yelled. "Choo-Choo Manthu is Alta Pulta." Alta Pulta means upside down. Amma and Preet's sister Mavi had rushed into the room and burst out laughing. "He's not Alta Pulta," her Amma said. "He's doing yoga." "Goga," repeated 3-year-old Preet. She had watched with wondering eyes as Choo-Choo Manthu lifted his body on the palms of his hands like a bird about to fly away. Preet blinks. No one can fill the Choo-Choo Manthu shaped hole in her heart. Where is my big uncle? Where is his kindness? Wonders Preet. She looks under the yoga mat. She searches through his bedside drawers. She goes across to his cupboard and opens it. Oops! A white shirt tumbles out onto Preet's head. Choo-Choo Manthu had 2 white shirts and 2 pairs of white pants. He had worn them turn by turn every day. Now there are only 1 white shirt and 1 pair of white pants left in the cupboard, neatly ironed. Preet carefully folds the shirt and puts it back on the shelf. And that's when she finds it. Choo-Choo Manthu's jar of toffees. Preet's tears drop silently into the jar. A bell rings in the distance. It is lunchtime at the school. Soon the children will pass under Choo-Choo Manthu's window. But there's no one to give them toffees now. But wait, yes, there is. Preet jumps up. She scoops handfuls of toffees from the jar and drops them from the window. Preet ducks under the windowsill, chuckling happily to herself. Cries of delight float up from the street. The end. In this story, Preet finds a way to celebrate her uncle's life and carry on his legacy, even though she still feels sad and misses him every day. As we all navigate grief, let us find ways to be open, both to celebration and to our sadness. The pain and the memories are both true. May we balance our sorrow with our joy and find support in the warmth of the community gathered here.
Thank you, Amber, for that beautiful story. I'm Isabel Call, your Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care. Together with Amber, Kelly, and Reverend Marion, and the many lovely members of the church who offer pastoral care, I'm here to listen when you have a new hole in your heart or an old one that needs more listening. Later in our time together, we will be remembering loved ones we have lost over the past year, looking at photos and listening to a recording of the Chalice Choir. If you have other losses or grief or sorrows from the past week, please allow us to include them in our caring meditation, which Kelly will be leading today. You may also have a shower of toffees to celebrate or some other joy to share. I invite you to use the chat box to type your full name and, in 10 words or less, your sorrow or joy. Then select Send to Panelists. In the future, you are welcome to submit a request ahead of time on our website under Connections. This is also a place to ask us to get in touch with you for pastoral care, to request a caring card, or to get support from our caring network.
Thank you, Isabel and Amber. This morning, what I want to do is to show you behind me the wonderful flower arrangement here in our sanctuary. Thank you to Sue Funlacher for arranging that. She always does such a nice job of taking care of us. And this morning, before we take a tour of our memorial garden, I want to tell you that I went outside right before the service and picked some pachysandra and a leaf that had blown through off the trees this morning so that you could have just a bit of the memorial garden here in this service, not just in pictures, but here's a piece of it here today. As many of you know, our memorial garden went under some construction last summer, last spring, when we had to repair a water main break that was under parts of the memorial garden play area and out to the street. So what we had to do was repair the garden and restore it to its beauty. There are a lot of people who did that and who take care of our garden on an ongoing basis through donations, but also caretaking, including things like weeding, because goodness knows there's always weeding to do. I would like to list the people who we need to thank for taking care of our memorial garden: Patricia and Jeff Boughton, Deborah Boyd, Susan Closen, Barb Fisher, Kay Fisher, Elaine Fujimura, Brian Hagman, Laura and Denaya Hartman, Pam Huson, Pat Larson, Ken Odiorn, Pat Owens, Nancy Pollock, Jane Reisman, Dave Richter, Tony Skraybeck, Chris Sullivan, Susan and Chaz Williams. Thank you so much, and a shout out to all of you. I watched some of the work being done in the garden over the summer and into this fall. And I was gently surprised at how tender love and care transforms a sacred space where many of our loved ones' ashes are spread. The garden is a beautiful outdoor room that invites you to linger, to breathe deep, to slow down, and to remember. Now I'd like to share with you some slides from our garden. The first slide on the left is the welcome area as you walk into it from the parking lot. And on the right is our sanctuary. Just inside those windows and doors is our sanctuary. And you're looking at it, the door's right behind me now. So this is part of our church home, especially for those of you who have never seen our building. We get to see a part of it this morning. Here we have a slide with garden plans and the beginning of the work. And next we have work, rocks, plants, mulch. And some finishing work being done. And voila, a beautiful, beautiful garden. You're welcome to visit anytime. And now I would like to invite Isabel Call to share a reflection.
Thank you, Reverend Marion. So honor to be with you all today for this tradition of Remembrance Sunday. I want to start by sharing that I was saddened to learn last week that the jazz musician Keith Jarrett has been living for over 2 years with a profound loss. He recently shared with the public that he had the first of 2 strokes in February 2018. Since then, his left hand has not returned to the piano. Talking about playing with his right hand, he says, "It's not convincing me anymore." I can only imagine what this loss means to someone whose relationship with the piano has been very close since childhood. I rediscovered Keith Jarrett this fall after his strokes, but before I knew about them. His music accompanied me through my anxiety, preparing me for my big interview with the UU Ministerial Fellowship Committee. And when I say his music, I'm actually talking about one album specifically, his 1975 Cologne concert. I wonder if any of you here are familiar with that album. NPR and the New York Times hail it as a triumph, an object lesson in triumph over adversity. It's a live solo piano concert in Cologne, Germany, organized by a teenage jazz enthusiast named Vera Brandis. A young Keith Jarrett starts out sweetly, perhaps reminding himself of the reason he agreed to play. Vera's earnest appeal when he tried to cancel the show upon meeting the piano. It was not the piano he thought he'd asked for. The pedals didn't do what pedals typically do. The high notes were tinny, the low notes were quiet, and some in between didn't do anything. You can hear him getting to know the instrument. After his gentle start, I hear the anger leaking through, and then curiosity. Minimalist short phrases repeated over and over again and again and again and again and again and again and again until they swell into what they were meant to grow into. Growing into what wouldn't be on any other day, with any other musician, with any other listeners, on any other piano. It is good. It is good enough for the audience gathered that day erupting into applause. Good enough to become a best-selling piano album of all time. Good enough for me to understand afresh some basic truths. I came across the album when I was looking for a new way to explain my own life after a profound loss. I was once an enthusiastic amateur musician, which I expected to use in my ministry. But since a severe injury 4 years ago, I have not been able to play piano, and my vocal cords move differently. My words and song now come with extra breath. I am softer. This is not the instrument I expected to play. In my healing, periodically, I've needed to take complete voice rest. I've needed to rely on my community around me to speak for me and to listen to me in new ways. And in my quiet solitude, I too have learned a new way to listen to me. What is it my voice has to say? Not what do I want it to say and use it to say, but what is its truth? There is rich silence there, something truer than words, truer than melody. I found a new entrance to meditation, a new entrance to the abiding truth that I am worthy and to have dignity, regardless of what I say, perform, accomplish. Healing spiritually from the loss of my old voice has been a gradual process of remembering this abiding truth. Remembering, literally putting back together myself and my community, even as the way it used to be is not forgotten. This is how loss is. This is how remembrance is. We put things back together, and they're different. Being new to First UU, I could not rely on my own memory to find good words for Remembrance Sunday. I had to remember them based on conversations I've had with many of you. In addition to the losses honored today, many of us are living with the loss of our tradition of being in the memorial garden for this service. Change is difficult, and the pandemic has meant loss on top of loss on top of loss. It is oppressive. It has taken away many of our choices, many of our freedoms. We have to be freshly creative to remember how to live fully in community at a time when we should not be physically close together. And we are surrounded by social pressures that lull us into forgetting, capitalizing on our longing for each other, encouraging us to go back to normal for the sake of the economy, when there is no normal to which we can return. In UU religious community, we can practice a liberatory faith, by which I mean a freedom restoring faith, without denying reality, remembering, putting ourselves back together, even if over Zoom, even if we're wearing masks, together, resisting the forces that would dismember us, even as we find ways to grieve. To get real about what our bodies truly need in a time of loss, I listened to disabled artists. The dancer and poet Maria Palacios identifies as a crip, a reclamation of the insult, cripple. In a live-streamed concert last week called We Love Like Barnacles, she prophesies a day when, quote, the non-disabled body is no longer glorified as part of some people's journey. She says, quote, Crips know how to hang on to the truths that sustain us, unquote. And this makes us a source of wisdom for others who do not yet know how vulnerable they are. She says, quote, we love with everything we got, unquote. And that is a skill that weaves community together. Speaking as a brown disabled person, reflecting on the dismembering climate chaos typified by the catastrophe of Hurricane Katrina, she responds to a public health official's suggestion that we prepare for disaster. Do you have an extra wheelchair? He asks someone who has waited years for the one wheelchair in their life. Do you have extra food? He asks someone else whose food stamps are delayed. Are you prepared? He asks. Maria Palacios responds, being disabled and being prepared means being emotionally prepared to be forgotten. I'm going to say that again and encourage you to listen carefully, especially if that quote brought up feelings of discomfort or pity. It is not a statement of victimhood. It is a statement of resilience. Being disabled and being prepared means being emotionally prepared to be forgotten. She is saying about her community, we are emotionally prepared to be forgotten, by an extractive economy that actively attacks our social safety nets through public health policy, housing policy, land use policy, and so we become emotionally prepared to be forgotten by those structures. We prepare emotionally through the practical work of building our own structures of care, care for other, and care for self. This is why we love like barnacles, refusing to forget ourselves and each other, remembering ourselves and each other, practicing remembrance. And this is why we practice remembrance of those we've loved and lost, remembering the love they had for us, remembering the care they would make sure we have, remembering the care we gave them. It is still alive. It is still with us. And we keep it alive through practice. Now, back to Keith Jarrett. He has always practiced piano, choosing it as a kid, even though it cut into his playing outside time. He has studied the music of Bela Bartok and J.S. Bach throughout his life. But when he performs jazz, everything is completely unscripted. It's never the same, he says. I have no idea, moment to moment, how to prepare for these things either. What actually happens is so much in the moment, end quote. I learned Bach and Bartok too as a youth, and like Jarrett, I don't expect that to come back. But I'm still here, improvising. Even when I feel completely unprepared, the rhythm and wisdom of that early learning is still with me. Remembering these roots, appreciating them when I hear a musician like Nathan playing, rejuvenates my unscripted life. Sometimes I call directly on that wisdom, adapting it, rewriting the words, as Brandon has done so beautifully for the hymn For All the Saints, which we will sing later. Other times it just settles my soul, like the hymn Spirit of Life, which needs no editing. In my 2 months here already, I see you as artists, as improvisers, and as barnacles, even though I haven't seen most of you in the flesh. We are here to practice and heal and play together, remembering ourselves and each other, remembering what and whom we have lost, while listening for the resilience, the joy that prepares us in their memory for whatever is next, the outcome of the election, the other losses and celebrations which will surely come. Return for a moment with me to Cologne, Germany, 1975. Keith Jarrett, who much prefers playing before a live audience to recording alone in a studio, has met the piano. He said, "Nope, forget it. I don't want to play." But that piano had something surprising to say. And with the help of his community, Keith Jarrett was prepared to listen. In that spirit, I invite you now to join me in singing or listening to the song Breaths.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. voice of the waters song. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling leaves. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters song. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters song.
I love that hymn. What a great way to kind of get a little bit of energy and reflect after Isabel's lovely sermon. First UU is a church that matters. It is in the foundation of our being to love, to care, and to be generous. We know this world is a long way from being fair to all people. It takes all of us to make it better. To offer our gifts and pay our promised pledges is to say to ourselves and the world that we are defined by our hearts and our deeper values. Our Share the Plate recipient for November is DMAP Food Pantry, a nonprofit social service agency that distributes food and other resources to residents here in Columbus. Their clientele consists of families living at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. The food pantry's mission is to be a leader in food access in order to create a hunger-free community. In this time of pandemic, they also offer food delivery for those who are not able to safely leave their homes. The offering that helps build a better world and a better church will now be gratefully received. You can donate online on our website, text to give, bank by mail, or write a check and mail it in. Thank you for your generosity.
Thank you, Nathan. This morning, I want to return to the Reverend Teresa Soto's beautiful words from their book, Spilling the Light. This is a piece entitled Reversals of Fortune. People wake up to ordinary days all the time. And then, somehow, as though things were just too peaceful, they experience drastic reversals of fortune. The car resting on its roof, the fall, the broken bone, the less than hoped for grade, the broken heart when a pet dies. You get it. You never know what's in a day, except you. You are the golden thread running through. I know that these reversals will test you. You may move through burdened with a fresh, wet grief. Or for now, you may arrive at this moment unscathed. What you need to know is that there is nothing larger than the love that is your destiny. And that love may, at times, feel opaque and distant, like a looming thunder cloud too far to reach. If that's too hard to locate, find your breath, a thread of your life. Find your community, friendly faces and open hands. What's true is that some changes call for every skill that we possess. The deeper truth remains. Changes will eventually change. Let your heart flex. Let it grow. Allow a reversal to be a moment in which you are the constant, while you give yourself kindness and heaping joyful love. We have 2 caring cards this morning. First, we want to say a huge congratulations to our own Brandon Moss, who successfully completed his dissertation defense this week. Congratulations, Dr. Moss. We also send caring thoughts to Nancy M., who is recovering from a recent hospital stay. And this is what you brought forward in the chat this morning. Rachel and Jeff R. We lost our dear friends Roger in July and Pam last November. May they rest in peace. Keith J. shares, my son Samuel, age 47, died unexpectedly at Cleveland Clinic. Chris J. shares, my dad is recovering from skin cancer surgery. Barb A. shares a joy. Our neighbor family across the street was stricken by COVID-19. After varying degrees of illness, all have recovered. And Jeff G. and Patricia W. are celebrating today their 45th wedding anniversary. Congratulations. I now invite Reverend Marion to lead us in a time of silent meditation with the help of the sound of our temple bell. After our moment of silence, we will remember those we lost this year.
I invite you to follow the sound into a moment of meditation.
good it is to share these memories and the labor of love in remembering. This photo reminds us of the joy of caring for the memorial garden and for each other. Our closing words this morning are adapted from Kathleen McTeague. She writes, "It is right to remember the names of those who gave us strength in this choice of living. It is right to name the power of hard lives well lived. Like us, they too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. They are with us still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. We take them with us, and with them, choose the deeper path of living." I now invite you to sing "For All the Souls" with new words by Dr. Brandon Moss.
For all the souls who from their labors rest, who strong in faith before the world professed, we their descendants be forever blessed. Love was their rock, their shelter and their might, their strength and solace in the well-fought fight. Hope in the darkness deep, their one true light. O blessed communion of the souls recall, loved ones imperfect, or shadows standing tall. Each of our stories honored here by all. And when the strife is fierce, the conflict long, we will remember their enduring song, and hearts will be brave again, and arms be strong.
And now I invite you, if you have your candle or chalice nearby, help us extinguish our chalice together. As a symbol of our love and connection and shared vision as a congregation, I invite you to place your hands over your heart or virtually hold hands as we say our closing words together. The words will also appear in your chat box if you don't already know them by heart. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform our through reason and love. They're the words, I hope, my friends, that you know them by heart. They are our vision. I now extinguish our chalice. Thank you, my friends. Go now in peace, and let us have our benediction from Isabel.
I've shared closing words. So glad to be with you all. And now let's hear announcements from Kelly.
Don't forget that you have until noon today to register for this afternoon's Pathways to Membership class. You can register at firstuucolumbus.org/pathways. I also want to let you know about our election night watch party this Tuesday, starting at 8 p.m. Join us for a space to feel and express anything you may be feeling during this difficult and anxious time. Check Friday News for more info, or you can email Isabel Call. And I also want to highly recommend that you join us Monday evenings from 7 to 8:15 p.m. for our Conversations on Race group. Right now, we are working our way through the Unitarian Universalist Commission on Institutional Changes report. You can email me for more information.
As usual, everyone is invited to coffee hour after the service. After the postlude, you can go ahead and click the link posted in the chat, grab your coffee, tea, or water, and then head back to Zoom. A reminder that the passcode is lowercase UU, as it is for many of our events. Coffee hour will go live in a few minutes once your worship leaders relocate virtually.
And our worship service would not be possible without help from a lot of people. And thank you to all of you for attending today. Thank yourself for coming. Thank you to our musicians, Dr. Brandon Moss, our Director of Music and Chalice Choir Director, Michaela Jones-Brown, our Spirit of Life Choir Director, and Nathan Ham, our pianist. Thank you to our ministry team, including myself, Kelly McNeil, our Director of Congregational Life, Isabel Call, our Assistant Minister of Pastoral Care, and our Senior Minister, Reverend Dr. Marion Stewart.
This morning, before you go to coffee hour, I would like for you to consider these questions. What or who lives in your memory? What or who do you want to remember? And what practices or traditions prepared you for this moment in surprising ways? My friends, take these questions into coffee hour and take them into your week. Have a good week. It's a full week. Hope to see you on Tuesday night and many times in between now and next week, but of course, next Sunday.